Welcome back to our farm. I'm Heather and this is Sage and Stone Homestead. This video is part of a really awesome collaboration of a bunch of creators diving into fermentation. Myself and all of these amazing creators have come together to post one video per day the entire month of February. Down in the description box, I'm gonna list all of those channels, and I'm also going to be listing the playlist that has all of the Fermentation February videos condensed into one nice, neat package. You're going to want to go to each of those channels and each of those videos and place a comment down below, because at the end of the whole thing on February 28th, Anna over at the Fermented Homestead is going to be giving away 2 really special fermentation kits from the Mason Tops brand. These kits are really nice and really awesome. I thought I had the best giveaways on YouTube, but Anna is really showing me up. So today I'm going to be bringing you Clabber cheese. It's a fermented milk product that is probably one of the easiest ferments out there. It literally just takes one ingredient, and later on, after our Clabber has properly fermented, we're going to turn that Clabber into cottage cheese. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can use Clabbered cheese, and I'm only going to be showing you one today, but know that it's a really, really diverse ferment, like many ferments are. Also, if you're new to the channel, you may not know that one of the main things that we do here is dairy goats. We have a whole bunch of dairy goats, so I have very good access to great quality raw milk. Clabber is best made with raw milk. It can be goat's milk, it can be cow's milk, probably sheep's milk would work fine. If you don't have access to raw milk, know that you don't have to sit this one out. You can absolutely clabber milk with things that you can buy at the grocery store, and we'll get into that. So let's get going. You can make clabbered cheese with any quantity of raw milk or recultured store-bought pasteurized milk as you want. I happen to have a half gallon here, but a half gallon isn't the golden rule. You can do it with as little or as much milk as you want. You can use milk straight out of the refrigerator. It doesn't have to be warmed up first. You can just take it right out of the animal, strain it, and literally this is what you do. You put it on your counter and you wait. So I know what you're thinking. Heather, you just stuck milk out on the counter and you're gonna leave it there for a few days. Aren't you gonna get sick when you go to eat that? And quite simply, the answer is no. And as long as the utensils and jars and things that you use are clean, the beneficial bacteria that's inside the raw milk or the recultured milk is going to overpower any kind of bad bacteria, and you're going to be having a completely safe product on the other end. Rory, Christine. Truthfully, as long as everything is kept clean, all the way from the milk pail to the fridge to your counter, raw milk just doesn't go bad. All it does is clabber, increase probiotic content, and ultimately get better. There's a significant difference between clabbered or soured milk and rancid and truly bad milk, and trust me, you're going to know the difference. Properly soured milk smells sour. It smells like sour cream, a very nice unsweetened Greek yogurt, a very good cheese. It's not going to smell foul. It's not going to smell rotten. It's going to smell sour. One of the ways that you can make sure that your fresh raw milk from your dairy animal stays good and doesn't get anything bad happening in it is to make sure that your milking pail, from your pail to your milk can, has no seams on the inside. Seams on these stainless steel cans and stuff can really harbor some nasty bacteria, and we don't want that. We want to start with clean milk, clean vessels from the get-go. Like I said before, if you don't have access to raw milk, you can absolutely reculture already pasteurized milk from the grocery store. I'm gonna list a couple recipes in the description below. One of them uses buttermilk to reculture the milk, and the other one uses sour cream. If you do have access to raw milk, however, I think that that's probably going to be a superior clabber. Look at this milk machine. Solid full. We are going to have some La Mancha babies born on the farm soon. This is so exciting. These guys have been really hard to get bred. I cannot wait. I'm rooting for does. I'm keeping some. The only time I've had a clabber go bad, grow something funky in it, and truly go rancid is when I had the clabber set up right next to our fruit bowl while it was trying to culture. I think some bad molds, maybe from some oranges or any kind of other fruit that was starting to grow something not good, kind of cultured our raw milk in a bad way. So all that to say, it's kind of a rule to keep your ferments about 3 feet away from other ferments, house plants, or fruit. But like I said, you're gonna know if it's bad. Depending on the temperature inside your home, this process could take anywhere from 1 day to around 5 days to complete. During the lacto fermentation process, you're going to notice a couple things. You may notice some bubbles. You may notice that the color of the milk has changed to a little bit more of a darker caramelization type color. Eventually you'll notice that the milk starts to kind of pull away from the side of the jar, and what you have at the bottom of the jar is a nice clear whey, like so. Now you don't have to wait for it to get to this stage for it to be considered a clabber, but this is how I know personally that we're done. Here's another example. This one has the curds on the bottom and the whey on top. Either way is fine. And I'll tell you, at this stage, you can store it in the refrigerator and keep it for, I haven't learned how long. This has been in my refrigerator for a couple months and it is still just as good. It smells lovely. It's tart, it's tangy, it smells a lot like sour cream mixed with a really great Greek yogurt. Ugh, I love it. So the clabber can be eaten as is, just like this. I have used it to replace things like ricotta cheese, sour cream, and Greek yogurt in a lot of my recipes. It's also really good as is with a little bit of honey and fruit on top for breakfast. But this video is about making cottage cheese, so there's another step to do to get it to that point. Right now the clabber is separated into curds and whey, but these curds are really, really soft. They're really fragile, and what we want to do is bring these curds to a closer texture, more like the cottage cheese that you would buy at the store, and that takes heating up. Now, don't forget that this clabber is something that has worked really hard for the last couple days to create a wonderful probiotic environment. So we're gonna heat this up relatively gently. I've got it on medium heat, and I'm not gonna do a whole lot of stirring. The more stirring I do, the smaller the curds are gonna get, and I'd like a little bit of a bigger curd. A candy thermometer would be much more precise. I have a meat thermometer here. So as I was doing my research, trying to find the best recipe to make cottage cheese at home, I actually read a couple different blogs that talked about using skim milk for the clabber, because skim milk has a lot more concentrated proteins in it, and the curds wind up a lot more structured and resemble more of what you'd buy at the grocery store. I used whole milk here today. I found that it works really well, but if you're like me and you've got a dairy animal and on cream separating day you're left with a whole ton of skim milk, this is a great way to use that up. If you've made any kind of stovetop farmer's cheese before, this process is really similar. Normally with those types of cheese recipes, you're adding in an acid to get the curds in the way to separate. But here, we just have the lactic acid that's already been created through the ferment. So there's no extra ingredients to get this to happen. I think that's awesome. So it looks a lot less yogurty now that we're up to temperature, and a lot more like little cheese curds. So I'm gonna turn off the heat, move it over. All right, so down here, I've got a bowl to catch my whey. I've got a colander, and inside the colander is some cheesecloth. You can remove the curds from the whey with a slotted spoon, but some of the curds are kind of small and they're gonna go through the holes on my spoon, so I'm gonna use the cheesecloth. Pro tip, If you pre-moisten your cheesecloth and stick it to the side of your colander, that's a lot less likely to happen. But I was lazy. Okay, so we're gonna gather up the cheesecloth, and I'm gonna let this hang and drip until it's done streaming out like that. I don't need everything to be completely dry inside. In fact, that's really not the texture I'm going for in my cottage cheese. But this is far too wet. So the whey that's coming off of our cottage cheese right now is technically a vinegar whey. We didn't use any vinegar, but we still used the naturally occurring lactic acid. So this is an acidic type whey. It is still very valuable and has many practical uses, so do not throw this out. One of my favorite things to do with the whey is feed it to my pigs and chickens. It has a lot of really great proteins in it, and a lot of those probiotics are still alive because, again, we only heated this up to 115 degrees. So this is really, really great for them, and I love supplementing our feed with anything that we can produce here on the homestead. So notice that I'm not like squeezing this. The last thing I want to do is clump all those curds together. Again, our goal here isn't like a formed cheese, we're going for cottage cheese. But I will go ahead and massage just a little bit. I'm just lifting up on it to make sure there's no hidden pockets of really wet whey in there that still need to drain out like that. Hang on, let's go outside. Look how pretty it is outside. Sorry, that was just way too pretty to not go look at. Everything is thawing out from the ice storm that we got, which thankfully wasn't too bad here. So right now, our curds don't really have the exact texture of cottage cheese like you know from the grocery store. They're a little bit dry and crumbly, and really the best thing to add to them at this point is cream. I don't happen to have any cream on me right now, but I do have a lot of milk, and I've had some great success just adding some whole milk back into the mix. That looks better, right? Let's give it a taste. It's got that classic fermented, lacto-fermented tang to it. It's beautiful. It needs a tiny bit of salt. And right now the cottage cheese is warm. As it sits in the fridge, it does a little bit more firming up, and it's glorious. And if you find that the fermented tang is a little bit too much for you, one of the ways that you can counteract the acid in any food is to add sugar. It doesn't have to be refined sugar. It could be if that's what you want to do. But you could add something like honey or agave and really bring it to a flavor profile that suits you best. It's nowhere near overpowering though. I would equate it to a unsweetened Greek yogurt. It's really wonderful to know that pretty much no matter what, the milk that we get off of the farm isn't going to go to waste. If we have so much of it, it's coming out of our ears, we don't know what to do, and it ends up going bad in the refrigerator, turns out it's got a second life with this cottage cheese. One time too, I had some cream go bad in the refrigerator and I turned it into butter. Amazing butter. If you'd like to see that video, I'm gonna stick it up here. Don't forget to check out all of the other channels in this collaboration for Fermentation February. I've linked them in the description below, and good luck winning the Mason Tops kit.